Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Dr. Linda's show. Today, we're going to be talking about how AI is reshaping business and what founders must know to be relevant. All right. And with me here is a great entrepreneur business leader who is all his business is all about AI and helping businesses automate and helping businesses integrate AI, right? So I would like him to introduce himself. Sam, over to you.
Hi, thank you so much, Dr. Linda, for this opportunity. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to speak. And to introduce myself, I'm Sam Hebeisen, and I started this company, Mind Model AI, together with my wife a few years ago, because things have been changing so fast. And since I had, my career, or still have my career in software engineering and cloud architecture, I realized that not only is there so much opportunity for everybody, especially non-technical people, but also a risk of opportunity for myself if I didn't adapt quickly. So here I am trying to promote this, I guess, family business, but also making sure that everybody can ride the wave and improve by themselves.
Thank you very much. Okay, for the sake of those that are watching us right now, I have lots of questions that I've prepared for Samuel. And of course, we start by understanding all that his business does. That way, that helps us to know that he's the right expert to be discussing this topic with today. And towards the end, if you have questions, feel free, drop it as a comment, and we are going to I will see it, and I'll be able to pick up your question and ask him. And so and if you are watching, maybe you're not watching it live, just stay to the end and see the questions that others had. That would be great. So Sam, over to you. How did your early journey in computer science shape the way you see the world today?
Well, there are computer science, there's a really certain type of person. Uh, Sometimes they're weird, but sometimes they have a certain way of doing things or thinking about things. But computer science basically is just logic and a human getting closer to how a computer works, right? There's a conditional like if and then and ones and zeros. And these pathways are very kind of clean cut. There's no room for too much creativity. Sure, there's creativity and good solutions, but basically there's a right answer at the end of the tunnel or a fast answer. And that's what kind of reshapes the way you think about things. For example, oh, if I'm cleaning up the dishes or putting the dishes in the dishwasher, can I put it in a way that's most effective, But then I can also overdo it, put too many dishes thinking I'm optimizing it, and then it all comes out dirty. So there's a good middle ground there of kind of like optimizing systems, even in everyday life.
Mm. That's great. Linking computer science and the way it thinks to dishwashing. That's really bringing it home for
But you
everyone to
you learn
understand.
lessons no matter what you do, right?
Yeah. Okay. So what inspired you to launch Mind Model AI, which is your company now?
Yeah. So this was about in 2023 when I realized the power, even the early AIs um, could provide with writing queries or doing things that would hurt my brain. Now I don't have to hurt my brain, and I can use these tools as an assistant, and that was very uplifting, right? And as it got better, I realized that okay, these things are becoming better than me, right? So what do I do now? Well, there's a certain limit currently, but it's going very fast. So one of the strong factors for me to decide to pivot is to A, protect my livelihood, number one, but number two, also kind of be um, uh, a mouthpiece for the truth, which is AI helps everybody. And just to touch on that, my first talk was in the Philippines, and you don't even have to speak English or write English. Any languages work. The AI will understand you and help you.
Hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so for those that maybe hearing about your work right now, what services do you offer under Model AI?
Sure. So we try to automate business processes. So if you think about things that are annoying or tedious, or things just don't get done because they're too difficult or too time consuming, those are the things that we want to focus on and either use AI or other systems that are readily available to solve those parts. And once those parts are solved, everybody, the whole team, just has a better time at work and they can accomplish more. And it's a very cost effective way to improve business operations by just using the right tools in the right way on the tough problems that bring everybody down.
I get it. So, what kind of businesses can benefit from this service that you offer? Is it like founders, early stage founders, middle, mid-sized businesses, or
Mhm.
very
Yep.
large businesses? What kind of businesses can benefit?
So the businesses I'm looking for are medium to large, and they don't have structured data, they don't have systems in place, and because of their size, it has a large negative impact on them. So with
Mhm,
the amount of effort that we can put in to fix these problems, the gains are pronounced and measurable. If the business is too small, there's still good news. You can solve those things, but you can do it yourself, right? You can ask
mhm,
the different AIs available. ChatGPT is a great general purpose for anyone to use. And if you're too large, you have other things to consider, like special certifications, security compliance. When you have investors and you're dealing with either payments or health, we try to not get into the business that we're not properly certified and adequately trained for. So there's a nice little middle ground of, let's say, manufacturing, or I like to say medium-sized businesses that don't have a tech team. Because if they have a tech team, they're going to figure it out by themselves. But if they don't, we're the perfect match because we can solve these problems at a far lower cost than what was the reality a few years ago.
hmm. I understand it because, like, from what you said, right? The larger the business, the bigger the impact of your work.
Correct. Up to a
Yeah.
limit. Because
Mhm,
when you're dealing, for example, with fintech, you're dealing with people's money. When you're dealing with large health and medical research, you're dealing with people's health. So since we're a very small team and we have to mitigate our risk quite a bit ourselves, right? So that's for that reason we're choosing the mid-sized legacy business. However, as a consultant and the abundance mindset, I'm happy to share all the knowledge that I do have. So even a quick consultation, I'll put anyone on the right path, or at least from my perspective.
yeah, I get it. And even for, some startups that are building like that are scaling very fast. So it's almost like today you are small, 6 months time, you have acquired, lots of customers. So it's like you can scale so fast. And sometimes they're looking at how can how can we make sure that scaling that we automate a reasonable portion of that scaling. When I say startups, it doesn't necessarily mean people who are already tech designers. There are some startups that are developed by non-technical founders, right? And they're still
Yep,
scaling fast.
yep,
So okay. um I know that aside the core business side, which is the mind model AI, right? You also host a live series to teach people AI related subjects and topics, right? What inspired you to start Age AI, which is what you call it?
exactly. So there's two parts of my business. One part is basically the automation, the solutions, building the automations to help the business. But the other part is the awareness, to make sure people are aware that, AI is very powerful and there's a lot of cool things, but there's also a lot of risky things. And even though it's fun and nice to kind of keep track, there are nefarious people using the same powerful tools that want to steal your money or want to somehow abuse your vulnerable position. So AJI is a event that I host usually 2 to 3 times a year because I spend about 20% of my time just keeping track of everything that changes almost daily. I'm using all this knowledge for myself, but I'm in a position that I can explain things in a very simple manner without the things that don't matter and show people that they have a lot to gain by just using very simple steps. And I think the biggest takeaway is in the last 10 years with the explosion of the internet and everything, when things became better, it became more complicated. Oh, another app to install, something else to learn. And this is not the case. This is turn the table. It has become very, very, very easy to use AI. And AI is the totality of humankind's knowledge designed in a way to provide value, to answer questions, to do things that you have in your head as a vision, but you kind of want on paper, similar to how you're doing a job at work, right? And it's just a super powerful assistant that is an intern and doesn't know what you want, right? So the skill is to ask it properly so that you can get what you want to get in your mind. But that skill of communicating of what's in your mind and is paramount in all business, right? You're saying one thing, you think they understand it, they think they understand you, but no one understands anyone. So this skill is already a very strong business skill to have, the ability to talk and understand and listen, of course. So these skills are required to talk
Mm.
to AI. But it's much easier to practice that skill of listening and talking than it is to go, in a highly technical school for many years and spend a lot of money to get a skill that I can only do 1/100th of the power these AI systems have. So it is truly an exciting um, paradigm shift, really.
Hmm. I get it. So, for example, right, you talk about hosting this live series. Where do you host them? Are they location dependent? Where?
Yeah, so far I've had three. The first one was in the Philippines. That was in 2023 in June. That was very exciting because that's when ChatGPT released their advanced voice feature. And the day later, I was able to blow everyone's mind. But I'm like, oh, thank you that it just came out yesterday. I can tell about it, right? And then the next one was December, last December. That was in Den 1880. It was a beautiful place, very fancy. Really liked it. And it was just a great experience. And then now I've moved into a co-working space called Your Sandbox. And
Mm.
in their basement, they have a large theater. So it made a lot of sense to me that at my place of work, I now have this entity that I can host these things, hopefully more often. So
Yeah.
currently it's at 508 Riverbend, Kitchener, Your Sandbox.
Oh, I see. So that's Kitchener, Ontario,
That's right. It's right
Canada.
next to the Grand River, and it's the Coldwell Banker Peter Benninger building. It's a lot of real estate experts there, which is great because I hope to offer some services to them.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Why I was asking is because for the show we have people watching from all over, both here in Kitchener, Ontario in general, Canada, and even from outside Canada. So that's why I was asking about the location because I know some people want to know, like, okay, where can I go? Where can I attend this event? Is it close to my location?
Yeah.
And all of that. Yeah.
Since we just started, we try to keep it local.
Mhm.
My primary objective is awareness, but my other objectives is to be able to catch some footage of me talking, people showing demos, talking out how they are using AI, so that I can jumpstart my social media because we're just starting and we want to tell a story, kind of. So until we fill up and sell out, it's going to be in person, but I hope
Mhm.
soon that we can expand it to a virtual live stream, just as you've been successful in doing.
It's okay. That's awesome. Okay. When people attend these events, right? What should they look forward to taking away?
First, I'd like them to be excited. So we have really cool demos that are captivating. For example, we have these glasses that have like a digital text on the screen that no one can see, and that allows live translation. live transcription. You can ask questions to the AI, which is great if you want to win a trivia contest, because then you can just secretly read your glasses, right? And we also have the VR headsets, which now you can see through. So that's mixed reality. And it's going so fast that these VR headsets are getting smaller and lighter and more powerful. And then the glasses are also being more powerful. So um, Mark Zuckerberg and others all believe, also Apple, believe that they will one day converge together into glasses that can basically be a cell phone. And that's what they're betting on. I'm not betting, I'm just riding the wave with them, and I want to show the people what's available. I usually don't recommend people buy these things. You just wait, but you still need to be aware of that journey just so you don't get blindsided.
Good. Okay. I had a funny experience. So let me just ask you. When I was trying to register for your previous event in December, right? I remember typing https, double slash, then I put www.ageai.io, and it didn't take me to the right place until I removed the www. Could you tell me more about why
Sure.
adding www doesn't work?
Sure. That's probably my mistake and my generation of web development that www is not required anymore. www was World Wide Web. However, that's my mistake for not considering that as well. The type in traffic, like what you did, certainly is valid. It should have worked. But
Oh,
ageai.io is the domain, and it'll always be that domain. I'll make sure later that www works as well. But typically, those subdomains aren't necessary anymore. If you use Chrome, it doesn't even show the www on the browser. If you type it
mm.
in, it just hides it. But that's a lesson for me.
Oh, that's fine. And why I asked it is because just in case there's somebody who is in my shoes, so
Mhm.
that should they type it, because it can easily feel weird, so that they will remember that we had that conversation to say, if you receive any error message, remove the
Mhm.
three W's and type it exactly the way I'm showing it on the screen, at least to ensure that somebody doesn't get stopped from accessing the information.
Y-
um
You're absolutely right. I'll make sure
yeah.
to consider both because it is still valid. People, that's how it was before. It should be the same today.
Yeah. I mean, it's also evidence of your forward thinking, right? Like it's like you are miles away in front. And that's why we're having this conversation. And that's why you host the events that you host, right? To help people catch up. I'm trying, but I know that I'm still look at me talking about the WWW, right?
No, no. See, I'll have to correct you there. It's a different perspective. I'm behind a screen almost all my life, seeing it my way. But
Mm,
if I'm trying to reach people and they using it their way, I need to get at their level, right? That's probably things I have to consider that I didn't consider before.
I see. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Was there a defining moment when you realized AI is more than a tool, is a shift in how we do business?
Mhm. Yep. So AI actually has been around for about 10 years, but it was always lousy and people would laugh at it, similar to how early internet was terrible, expensive, slow. You spend 20 minutes loading an image and then you get a bill in the mail, right? So these things is kind of that's how it started off. So now we're starting to see the real value of the last decade of AI research. And it's kind of compounding, like, compounding interest, and it's just growing faster and faster and faster. And it's going so fast currently, and it's not slowing down. And all the puzzle pieces are coming into place. We have the computational power technology, like these new processors. We have access to efficient delivery of electricity, right? We have very advanced ways of programming computers. So it kind of makes like a perfect storm that is very beneficial for humanity, but the power is available for evil as well, right? And that's what I hope to also address at my talk. There are many, many dangers out there, and you might become more powerful in your life, but other people trying to steal your money was also very powerful now.
Mm, I see. Okay. So let's dive more even into the topic of the day, which is how AI is reshaping business. To say, how is AI quietly changing the business landscape in ways most founders don't even notice yet?
So, because it's going so fast, let's say a year ago, you try it out, right? You're like, there is no way I'm going to put this in my business. It's too risky. It makes me look foolish. In the past, that opinion or that experience will last a few years. You're like, oh, I tried it already. It's no good. Now it goes so fast that within a month, 2 months, 3 months, your opinion is not relevant anymore. And you might embarrass yourself at a dinner or a soiree having a dated experience is only 3 months old, right? So you have to be careful with that. And I've learned my lesson too. We're like, oh, I tried it, it's no good, but oh, what I think or my experience is no longer applicable because things has changed so fast, and that's the danger. You experience something, you form an opinion, you hold on to the opinion normally, like a normal person would in the last millennia, but now you have to change your opinion very often and keep on experiencing it because things change so fast, and many peoples are working on it that you almost have to check every day, right? So that's an exaggeration, but truly every week there's something just incredible and kind of rethink your strategy. So AGI and my model were very risk off. We use things that will last longer than a week, and also be very objective with what's out there. And you only hear about the most amazing parts of an AI. For example, the great videos you see. It's amazing, but you have to make like 10 of them and then choose the one that you like to post, right? So
Mhm,
it's kind of like a show reel. Of course, that's changing very fast. Before you had to make 20, now you probably have to make three or four.
mhm,
So it is improving. But what you see online and what is impressive is true. But when you actually try to do it, there might be a cost implication, a time implication. Sometimes you are not properly equipped with the skills to get the result that you're seeing that is being showcased. There's so many factors, but the good news is that it's all something that everyone can learn.
mm. Yeah, that's a high point right there.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned before that we're living in an AI bubble. What exactly do you mean by that?
yes. So there are two sides. There are the skeptics, and then there are the people who think they're amazing. But I'm talking about a different bubble. The bubble I'm talking about, it's not because AI is no good. It's because AI is too good and people have misplaced their investments too early. For example, you hear about the data centers. These are big buildings with a lot of computers to process the demand for AI. Microsoft has slowed down or backed up. AWS, Amazon has slowed down or backed up. But others like XAI with Grok or um, NVIDIA and many Chinese companies are expanding very quickly. So they put billions of dollars in these things. However, if you know about DeepSeek that just came out, this is just an example.
Mm-hmm,
They were able to accomplish the same thing at 1/10 of the amount of computational power and electricity and effort.
mm-hmm,
With that said, there's an idea to consider that these AIs are so good that they can improve in efficiency as well. So if you're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars on big expensive data centers and the efficiency comes down 90% within the year, then you're going to have an empty warehouse with a lot of power, but no work to work on, right? So these are the types of bubbles that we will likely see. I don't speculate or anything, but I'm just expressing what I read and agree with on the news that the demand for AI is there and will continue to grow very, very quickly. But the amount of billions of dollars invested in certain things could have been timed better, knowing how the demands of AI, people using AI and to train AI, how that progresses. So there is the idea that it is over invested now, where it might take some time for that investment to see a return, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one part of the bubble. The other part of the bubble is because it goes so fast and AI is so good, many people will invest a lot of money, build software, build solutions on a great version of a model. For example, Meta Llama 3 was released in April 2024. That was great. So
Mm-hmm.
people take it, they train it, they spend a lot of money to make it say the things they want it to say. 1 year later, we're in April, Llama 4 comes out. So what do all the people do where they trained Llama 3? It's great, but what's the shelf life? What's the shelf life of a trained AI that's already a previous generation, right? It's like buying an iPhone, let's say 15, or let's say 14, and you buy all the accessories, you buy everything, you spend so much money on making this nice, but then the iPhone 16 comes out, and now you just have a decked out iPhone 15, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's still good, but it's not the best. So how much money are you going to spend on the accessories on the older model, knowing that a newer model is right around the corner? That's the type of bust that I'm talking about.
Hmm. I get it because my next question was going to be what could cause that bubble to burst, but you have explained that as in
AI
your.
is just too good. It's going too fast. It's becoming more efficient. The
Mhm.
cost is dropping. So if you've spent so much money in investing, thinking of the next 5 to 10 years, are you going to get the demand to get a return in the next 5 to 10 years?
Mm,
It's seemingly unlikely, but who knows?
mm. Even what you're saying is a very important insight for founders or entrepreneurs who are looking to develop like maybe core AI products,
Mhm.
right? Like, so is also something for those persons to listen and be mindful of.
Yeah. So there's different use cases for everything, right?
Mhm.
Going too quickly and deciding too rash about a speculative outcome might not prove good for the amount of money you're putting in, is basically the idea.
Mm, I get it. Okay, so you often encourage decision makers to stay on track. In your view, what does staying on track with AI actually looks like for a business?
Mhm. So just keeping track on the news is pretty good. There's a lot of noise because everyone's kind of, not everyone, but many companies are trying to get ahead and hey, look what mine can do, look what this system can do. But there are quite a few um, newsletters out there that kind of like make it very simple for people to digest it. Um, for example, if you see an AI influencer on Instagram, just follow them and then just wait for them to tell you, right? The worst thing you can do is ignore it, or, in my opinion, be skeptical of its value. We're not going to reach these dream superintelligence AGI for a while. So it's for myself, I tried not to spend so much time at the utopian outcome of all of this in, 10, 20 years, but focus on, what's very current because I don't want to make a decision today. The future won't matter too much if I, um, mess it up now.
Mhm.
Um, but the value is definitely there. And even if AI stops, let's say the innovation and the development just stops today completely, what we still have already has to come out into the workplace, our processes, our habits in life. So there's so much value that has yet to be digested by humankind, even if AI development stops. But the scary part is AI development is not stopping. So what are we doing? I'm stuttering because I don't even know, right? I personally just try to stay on track. I spend about 20% of my time staying on track. And I feel sometimes that it's too much time, but that's why I have that event. So I can translate that into kind of a productive manner.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and staying on track sometimes may not be something somebody can do on their own. People should do it, right? But for somebody who cannot do it on their own, like spending 20% of their time, that is also where even attending something like your event comes in because it's just an example when you say AI influencer, you're also an AI influencer. So people, this is an example. I was going to ask, like, okay, can you give us an example of an AI influencer? But Who is an influencer? That's the person who is educating others, and letting us know, okay, this is what is here, this is what you can do with it. And that's exactly what you're doing with your event and live series. So
Hmm.
I really encourage people to attend, because I was telling you behind the scene that I'm going to come as well. I'm going to come for the one you have, you know. So I encourage every business person, every entrepreneur to keep up to date, especially if you can see someone that is really putting their time, a lot of their time, into learning what what has come, as
Hmm.
that thing is becoming available. Because it's not everybody that can that have the capacity or the skill, let's put it that way, to know where to
Hmm.
find this information. So
Hmm.
an event like yours is a very good one.
Yes. It also take a little bit of courage because people don't like to be scared. And some things are pretty scary, like the automated abuse or the scaled production of robots. The robots are coming,
Mm,
and that's one of the topics I will cover. That it's it's going to help us, but it's not something that we naturally welcome as humans, like, oh, there's a new robot in my
mm,
house. Great, right? Maybe my kid will think that's awesome, but for us, that's something so weird and it's something so weird. But if it's coming so fast, that's something that we'll need to kind of sit on and kind of digest, right? And the good
mm,
news is that we're early. It's still digestible.
mm,
The worst thing, not the worst, but one thing that I want people to avoid is just to be like, ah, AI, that's funny. Those pictures are nice, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. They're still correct, but everyone should make an effort to just, keep track of it. Like if you're swiping and you see something about AI, just read about it a little bit, right? Because it's still digestible today and it's not difficult to grasp, especially once you start using it.
yeah. Okay. So can you give us an example where AI innovation made a previously cutting edge solution obsolete almost overnight?
Yes. So this happens often, but I think a very profound one was when ChatGPT released their new image generator 4.0. They were behind for maybe over a year. They had Dolly 2, and that was great, but people usually made fun of, oh, look how many fingers that person has, or everything's so weird, right? And other companies were doing a very good job in improving that, right, with their training. But ChatGPT or OpenAI rarely disappoints. They just take their time, I suppose, even though if they're very quick. Nevertheless, about, I think it may be a month ago, they released that image generator and it can do everything. So for example, I was talking to a real estate agent. They're like, okay, on my social media, I want to do an April market update. So I'm like, okay, here, I'll show you. You ask ChatGPT, you use deep research, say, hey, I'm a real estate agent in Kitchener Waterloo. Could you do some research for me and get me a market update on the real estate industry in Cambridge? In about 2 minutes, you got it right there. Great. Now turn it into a social media image and here's my logo. And it did just that in 30 seconds. You have with all the text, with all the image, looks super nice. If anything you want to change, you just say so. You just say, oh, can you rearrange my logo to be on the left instead? Blah, 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 blah. And then there you go. So that is so mind blowing because usually you'd have to use Canva or maybe, Microsoft Word or Photoshop. Photoshop can do amazing things also with AI, but this very accessible tool, the ChatGPT app, just using your voice or just text what you want in your mind, it comes out like magic. And that
Mm,
was profound because I also learned my lesson because I'm like, oh, why would you use Canva anymore? You just ask ChatGPT to make it for you and it's made it. And I was true. That was true then. 2 days later, Canva released a whole set of other tools. I'm like, you can't form opinions now 2 days. So you just keep an open mind and you just make sure you kind of are aware and play around with it. And well, once you have the tool that's very helpful for you, then might as well use it. You don't have to change software, especially now that you're just using your words, right? So
mhm.
um no, there's another side. It's very profound for graphic designers and stuff that they make a living with the hours they bill with the professional work that they do. So what do they do? Well, it's obviously a very difficult conversation to have, but if they were themselves to use these tools professionally, their output increases, their quality increases, their detail increases, and that is good news. And the danger there is just to be upset about it and feel disheartened and give up. Oh, I have no hope now with AI. That is the bad mindset to have. You just say, now I am powered by AI.
Mm.
It's not like we have a choice, but everyone's on the same boat here. So it's a good mindset to have, and you won't regret it.
Amazing. So, where should a founder start integrating AI without, especially if they don't want to become overwhelmed?
Right. So, awareness is always good. You need to kind of understand it, what it is, what it isn't, because it's very difficult to understand what it's not without experiencing it, right? And even if it goes so fast and you say, oh, I'll just wait later, because why waste my time understanding it now? I can understand it later. That might be true. But as a business leader, it's your job to make sure that you're on the right track. That is also true for your staff, right? So, there are many risks out there. For example, sharing too much information, using free AIs online that aren't really the real AI, and you end up just sharing all your company data, and it just becomes a strong problem. So, as a leader, you should understand what it is, what it isn't, understand the risks, and then educate the entire team the same way you've educated yourself, just so that you've got that foundational level of um, understanding so that you can go on to the next step, right? Without that first step of just knowing what it is and what it can do to help and what it can do to hurt, um, is very important.
I get it.
So the answer would be just basic education and playing around with it and seeing what it can do for you.
Sure. Okay. What are the misconceptions, about using AI in business, in your
Okay.
opinion?
So many people I talk to, they're part of Teams, or they're part of Google Apps. They already have a system or a platform, an ecosystem,
Hmm.
and these ecosystems do a very good job in making sure that their clients are taken care of with these latest technologies.
Mhm.
Copilot, for example, for Microsoft, right? However, Copilot is about 6 months to a year behind in the technology that it can do, right? What a big misconception is, oh, I tried Copilot and this is the state of the industry because of Copilot. What they don't understand is that enterprise software has to go through rigorous testing, rigorous compliance, and all the cool things you hear on the news. Oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. For that technology to make its way to a secure environment that is effective without risk takes a few months, right? It's like the Wild West and uh, I guess the Wild West of crypto, with
Mhm.
the meme coins and everything. But then
Mm.
there's the other side of crypto with like instant settlement. You've got immutable blockchain. So it's like the same with AI. You've got the Wild West, which is crazy, and you might get hurt if you play there. But given time, when institutions develop a good technology that's very helpful, it takes about, 6 months to 12 months for you to experience it. So the misconception is taking the solid solution and thinking that is the state of affairs of AI, right? You could see like on the horizon all the crazy in the Wild West. There's good stuff coming. It just takes time to get into these enterprise software. So when I talk to them about it, just hey, you're in a good position, you're safe. Just wait. It's not like you're gonna lose out in 6 months, right? Especially when you have all these benefits that others might not have by taking riskier decisions for a quicker path into what's available, right? I'm not an expert in how enterprise software gets deployed with certain certifications or whatever, but I do know that it's a very clear distinction, and it just seems like some people feel that they're missing out because they're
Mm.
in the safe zone. And I tell them, don't feel like you're left out. Just wait. The people behind your enterprise software are working very hard to get you really, really awesome stuff. And that's true. For example, Copilot now has agents. It'll have voice soon. Google Apps for Business has all sorts of amazing things. But 3 months ago, Google Assistant was still Google Assistant, not Gemini, right? So people get upset. Oh, my Google Assistant still is no good. Why can't I have OpenAI advanced voice? Well, just wait, right? That's the advice mostly I give most.
Mm,
It's okay waiting. Just enjoy what you have and make sure that you digest it and keep using it, right? Because it's just going to get better. You're just better off uh, playing by enterprise rules. Everyone would be better off that way.
mm. I see. And what you're saying there, especially for businesses as well, is that there's the Wild West and there's a place where you are playing it safe. It's like ensuring that your safety is secured to to a reasonable extent compared to, you know, untested waters that may not have to go through the same thing that enterprise software has to go through in terms of AI.
Correct. Correct.
Mm.
Using Copilot is a great way to experience AI as long as you see what it can do, what it can't do, and whatever it can't do, it will be able to do very soon. So it's that patience element, I guess.
I get your point. Mm. Okay. And you mentioned some of the risks because at the point you talked about maybe somebody going online finding like an AI related software as it is called and then using it and exposing your company data and all of that. So, but I just want us to shine more light on the risks, right?
Sure.
So, are there risks founders should be aware of when integrating AI to their business?
Yes, there are many. Um, in business, I think many will agree with me that you're only as strong as the weakest link in the chain, right? So with a typical standard cybersecurity practice, or concepts is that you can have the best cybersecurity hardware systems with firewalls and threat detection systems, but all it takes is for an employee to click a bad link in an email to download something for them to then access, passing all the security systems, right? So that weakest link is the threat again with AI. Um, you can have all sorts of systems to prevent it, but at the core of it is education. Like, be careful. You know, as an employee, you're sitting inside the office. You yourself have a responsibility, even though you don't have security clearance. You still have security clearance being an employee. So you have to keep kind of the 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 security health of the business as a responsibility for yourself. Um, there are many other risks that are incredible, and I'll touch on a few right now. For example, any person, like let's say a scammer, right? It takes time for a scammer to scam people, right? So they can only maybe scam, I don't know, on a good day, I have no idea, but maybe two people a day they'll scam, right? But if they can train an AI that's very good and you train them to be the best scammer in the world, it's like copying and pasting it 100,000 times, all with different names, different image, different personas, and that's what I like to call a swarm, a swarm of bots. So if you can just think of, instead of a group of scammers, now you have millions of scammers that are very good at not sounding like a scammer. Here's another example. Let's say, you're friends with people on Facebook because they approached you in a very kind manner saying, "Oh, I saw you ran a marathon. Congratulations. I too am a runner." You be friends and you build a relationship with someone that you've never met before. And it's not always bad. I'm sure there's a lot of great relationships that are started this way. However, in the past, a scammer who is doing that to scam you isn't going to wait all day to get your money or try to figure things out, right? Within a few days, maybe weeks, they'll try a trick or two, right?
Mhm.
With these AI agents, there is no time horizons. They can be friends with you for decades. because it's just a system running and it's almost zero cost to run. So one has to be careful of taking out the time factor of a relationship because you might very well be building a relationship, a long term relationship with someone that does not exist. And with time comes trust. But if you still haven't met that person and you don't have those checks and balances that are so obvious, uh, they might strike at a time when you don't even have to be vulnerable. You just automatically trust them because of the time that they've been around, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
a risk. Because the human element is removed, there's no time bound. The AI agent can be running for decades, right? And that's a big risk. It's a social engineering risk that did not exist a few years ago because of that time factor. A scammer has to scam to eat, right? So if they're not doing their quota, they're not a good scammer. But these with these AI scammers, there's no quota to meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the success criteria is very, very, very low because there are millions of them. So
Mm-hmm.
these are things that aren't part of the cybersecurity textbooks yet, but is going to come really fast, and people need to kind of like be aware of it. Um, there's a few more, but I'm sure they'll have opportunity to dive into that.
No, please go ahead because
Okay,
that's why
this
we're
is
here.
okay. Cool. This is my one of my favorite ones. So with B2B agencies, there's a thing called list building, where you can use Sales Navigator or even scrape Google Maps or any public data source of emails, right? With these emails, you can then enrich using AI systems, using APIs like with LinkedIn. So you have their email, you have their name, then you pay a few tokens to get their place of work, their phone number, and then you keep on trying. These are very long lists, hundreds of thousands of people or even more. And you enrich the records. So you have get more and more and more information about them, right? And then these are not people doing this, these are systems doing this. And then you learn, or the system learns about what projects they're working on or what positions they have on LinkedIn, right? And what they do, instead of a cold email, they will send an invoice right away saying, hey, I'm from such and such company, which they know that they're working for. And this is an invoice for this project that they know that they're working on. It's a bit late. Please kindly pay as soon as possible. We don't know who the person in finance is. It seems like they are ignoring our emails. It's already past due. Please, can you facilitate this payment, right? Times they do this a million times, right? They just send out these emails that each invoice and each email is so personalized to the person, their responsibility, the type of work they're doing, the project they're working on, that even if they have 1/10 of a percent pay the invoice, they make so much money because they just want they feel that, oh, we're in trouble, someone's getting angry, and they're so convincing because they know what project this was, who was supposed to pay and didn't pay, and they just make that executive decision as an employee to pay the invoice. And they need a very, very low success rate to make hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So these are engineered systems that are just, you can't really blame the person that sent the money because it checked all their boxes, right? But they still got scammed. So these are the things that are going to happen so much, and it's difficult to catch a threat that changes so much and is so unique, right? So these are the types of things that it's difficult to educate because even myself, I've been scammed. And you're like, Sam, what's going on? Like, you should be an expert at this. But like, oh, it's getting so good that you got to just tell yourself that you yourself have to be better in watching these, even if it slows down payments. It's okay if you're late. What's not okay is sending all your money to someone that did not deserve it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Listening to what you're saying now, the question on my mind is, uh, of course, first of all, is awareness, which is what you are creating right now. But beyond awareness, is there something one like an individual can do to become less what's the word now? To become maybe not being able to fall into these kind of scams that are following social engineering
Hmm.
pathways. What what
Yeah.
what can I do as an individual?
I think the first thing is not to give up and feel disheartened and scared because then they've already won, right?
Mhm.
You have to be courageous and be like, hey, I know these things exist, and this is a terrible thing to wish, but sometimes you want someone to try to scam you so that you get more experience, right? Because it's difficult to get experience in something that is only talked about and not experienced.
Mm,
Um, so just be courageous and kind of know that they exist. But um, the basics, for example, so many times I see on Facebook, oh, my Facebook got hacked. It's because they don't have 2FA, or when it sends you a code, or you have to put in a code with the SMS. That is the absolute basics. So with these 2FA systems, you become kind of unhackable, right? So if you don't have, if you feel that it's inconvenient to be more secure, then that's an ideology that you need to now rest, right? So
mhm,
there are technologies today to solve the vast majority of attacks, social engineering attacks. Don't dismiss them. Just say, okay, fine, it is annoying that I have to put in a code every time I log into Facebook on a different account, but just do it. It's there to help you.
mm,
That's a more recent one that's been around for a while. 2FA or MFA, multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication, is the absolute basics. Without it, you deserve to be hacked. I don't mean that in nefarious, but it's a system that's available for you. Use it. A new one is Facebook, Meta has advanced AIs already, and I've experienced this, and I guess this what is a lesson for me, Facebook Marketplace, right? And you just chat, and then I saw a bubble from like the AI. Be careful about scams. These things, this seems like a scam. Be careful, be careful. I'm like, no, no, I know what I'm doing. Go away. Sure enough, I got scammed. So it seems like an annoying bubble, and you think you know what you're doing, but consider the fact that these threat detection systems know everything about them, right? Not
mm,
just the conversation that you're having. These pieces of advice is from a lot of data and a lot of, I guess, training on scenarios where people did get scammed. So even though you think you have a control of the situation, consider that Facebook knows everything about everybody and is trying to help you. So that's um that's a more current one. I think it's only been a few, maybe a month, where Meta AI at Facebook Marketplace, if it feels like, advanced payment, I don't know, it gives you advice. Be
mhm,
careful. Consider that because the reason why that pop-up came up is using a lot of data points, way more than what you are experiencing in chat.
mm. I see. Okay, thank you very much. Lots of insights that you've shared. I have more questions.
Sure.
So let's look at what emerging risks in AI do you think are still under discussed?
Um, the risks of AI that's under discussed.
Mhm,
So the big ones, the scary ones, I suppose, is so there's a cool exam, or sorry, to measure the performance of these AIs or how good they are. Uh, there's this test called Humanity's Last Exam,
mm,
and it's the last exam an AI has to beat, and some call it the last invention of humankind. Because once an AI reaches that level, it can do everything right. We don't need to help it because we are just slowing it down at that point. So what happens then, right? Currently, if you check the leaderboards, I think '03 or '04 is at like 22%. And '03 and '04 did not exist 6 months ago, these new models, right? This test didn't exist a year ago or whatever. So now that we have these ideas of a test of humanity's last exam, once AI can beat that, it can do anything. And I'm not talking about a sentient, conscious AI. That's misunderstood. But an AI that can do everything, right? So we don't really discuss it, and people that say it's going to be terrible, people don't want to listen to, because if we slow down AI innovation, another country or another nation is not going to slow down, right? So it all comes down to national security is the answer to all these ethical questions. Sorry, I didn't mean to do this. There are actually ethical questions that need to be discussed. The problem is no one's going to discuss them because if we discuss them, we slow down, and if we slow down, someone else is going to overtake, and then what, right? So I try not to talk about ethical questions because I don't have an answer to it.
Mm,
Uh, Thankfully, most um, most AI talks do cover that stuff, and they invite people's opinions and are very interesting. The reason why I don't cover ethics, I cover risks and
mm,
things that are available today and things to watch out now. But 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know. I have no way of researching that. Uh, but other people smarter than me do have, well thought out positions, and I just consider their input. So that's what is under discussed. What's at the end of the road.
mm,
If I may end on a good note, what we want the end of the road to be is the productivity of the planet to be maintained without requiring any work. So you're still getting paid, you're still enjoying your life, but you're not going to work anymore because the robots are doing it. And many models have priced this as a very plausible future. But that's at the end. What happens in the middle is everyone's going to lose their jobs, then robots are going to fight each other, and then it's a rocky road. But the promise is very nice. And
yeah.
my last point here on this question is we're limited by politics and legislation, right? So if you understand what gerrymandering is, in the United States, where they redraw the district lines to uh, improve the chances of a red or blue outcome. 6 years ago, or even more, AI already solved this. They're like, here's the most fair distribution of the districts of the United States. Here it is. This is the most fair way to do it. That gets ignored. It doesn't matter what AI can provide, it still comes up to decision makers and politicians to
Mm,
get together and okay, we want what's fair, let's implement what's fair. It's always a fight at the top,
mm,
and that's in itself kind of a challenging thing. The best AI can do the best thing, but it still requires our political system to kind of first find out if it is truly fair, and second implement it if it is. That's why decentralized autonomous organizations in Web3 are great, but
mm.
that's another topic.
I get you. Okay, what has surprised you most in your public conversations with non-technical audience about
Yes.
AI?
Yeah. Some people are stubborn in a way that I don't understand, right? So let's say if you use voice mode on ChatGPT,
Mhm,
you're just talking, you just have a conversation, right? It's not difficult. Um, it might be scary, it might be funny, it might be enthralling, all sorts of things, but not wanting to try, I never really understood. I understand that uh, it might be too scary for some people for them to completely shut it out, but to not try something so strongly is a puzzle for me. But I understand all perspectives and all walks of life, so it's just puzzling to me that some people can be very stubbornly against trying without actually being against the technology. So
mm,
because there's no cost factor, there's you, if you're scared of privacy, don't share private details. Talk about I don't know your favorite dog or something. I don't know. No. So these are the things that sometimes it's puzzling,
I get you.
but I'm also going a mile a minute and like, go 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 go. And some people want to slow down naturally, so it could also be a shortcoming on my end.
I get you. Because also, because you are also at the front, you are seeing a lot, right? So it's very, think of it like somebody who has their eyes open, and then you are telling someone else, a lion is coming, and the person's eyes are closed. They may not run as fast as you want them to run, So I can understand that friction. We need people like you. So that's good. All right. What advice will you give to your younger self just starting out in tech now?
Okay, so that's difficult because tech has changed so much in the last year, right? If I were to give advice to my younger self, it's probably to be building my network better because, behind a screen, you feel comfortable there. And if you become gainfully employed by sitting behind a screen, there's no need to work on your social skills, network, emotional intelligence, because you're getting your paycheck and you're able to buy food and maybe, cake sometimes. But once that changes, for example, in my situation, I don't really have a network. Oh, well, not a big one that would facilitate my transition into, you know, being a CEO of an AI company. Now um, I have a platform and I have a network. I don't have that, right? So I am forced to learn, forced to take advantage of beautiful opportunities like this one. Uh, AGI, just try to get experience there. So my advice would be you got to balance your skill set, right? If you can be really good at, riding a horse, but once riding horses are illegal, well, what are you gonna do, right? And that's changing so fast now that you have to kind of learn a lot of skills, especially if it's uncomfortable, because it's the uncomfortable skills that are hardest to learn, which you'll eventually need, right? If it's easy, then you probably don't have to spend too much time in mastering it. 70% is great. Just sort out the stuff that you're really, really terrible at, I guess, would be my advice for my younger self. Um, my advice to my kid, my young ones, I don't know yet because, if you want to be an astronaut, well, there's probably never going to be astronauts anymore. Robots are going to go up there. Humans in space don't fit, right? Or should he learn how to program in programming language? I don't know. Will that matter in 10 years? I don't know. So it's difficult for me with. I'm also a new parent, so it's not like I'm an expert at that. But I'm trying to figure out life advice to give my child. Well, the world is going to be so different that I might ask AI.
Okay, is right. Thank you. Yes. What was your vision for mind model AI? What's your vision?
Well, because we're quite early, we're still discovering a lot, right? So, for example, early on, we could do these automations that can control a computer using click macros, right? But now the AI can do it. We'll show at the talk that, hey, you can give an AI a goal, and then it'll open up your browser and will go and do whatever it is and try I think it's hardest to solve it. And there's some really cool examples of that on social media where there's a person that uses glasses and says, "Hey, order me a Big Mac at this address," and then it does it. It takes 30 minutes, probably cost more than the Big Mac to process, but it's able to do that, right? So the I'm working on things that I can control. So the awareness part is an easy one. I spend a lot of time learning. I got to share my knowledge, right? And learning a lot of things about AI teaches me, and also witnessing failures, teaches me what to do and what not to do. But very often, sometimes late nights, I'm like, whatever I'm working on right now is probably going to be automated by AI within 2 months, right? So, how I've developed in the short 2 years that we've been around is taking on the risk off approach, saying there's a lot of good things that we can build, there's a lot of correct ways that we can build, but even though, the promise of scale and massive growth is there, it becomes more about either hyper speciality or luck instead of traditional marketing methods or uh, proper investments in things that get traction. Because you can have systems that get traction, but once it's obsolete, it's done, right? And because I'm self invested, me and my wife, and we don't have investors yet, we don't have that cushion of failing forward. We got to be
Mm.
kind of careful, but that's also kind of coming up as a skill and quality of how we do business, saying, hey, you want to get into AI, you want to implement AI, this is how we would do it. Because if you do it in different ways, there is evidence that you will be burning money very quickly and then it's over, right? And that's not the idea of business, right? You want to
Mhm.
build foundational with 5, 10, 15, 20-year outlook. And that's what we're still discovering. Um, Happy to help in ways that we can, but we won't take on too risky approaches, even though many people see success with it. I've also seen, because I'm so close to the news, many companies just lose all of their enterprise value overnight just because another company has figured out to do something so much better than what you were still trying to figure out, right? So there's a lot of risk, um, and that's what we're in discovery phase, but can still provide a lot of value for many businesses.
Yeah. And you know what, for example, from the beginning of the talk, right? One of the things you kept mentioning is how fast AI is moving, how companies lose value, especially when AI then makes them obsolete, the AI they're working on. And of course, myself, being in the stock market, I have first-hand knowledge as well when it comes to like how becoming obsolete then affect the stock, talking about losing enterprise value, right? So, any method that still allows someone to be more sure or to be less, what's the best way to explain? Like the person is less likely to be
Yeah, y-
obsolete.
yeah,
The,
you want to expose yourself to the market without the risk.
Mhm.
So I think the safe way is never mess with the big boys. So investments in Meta, Google, you know, uh, I was gonna say Tesla, but we'll see about that. The big guys that have 10, like Adobe, they have decades of experience in AI. Like Google is just incredible. Half the technology we have today was discovered and invented by Google and given away for free, right? So investments, or AWS is very strong. Um, you can invest in these stable companies that have a lot of room to fail, but are also invested in the most the projects with the highest likelihood of success, right?
Mm,
So those are great investments. Even I think I'm not an expert, but investing in stable companies with a solid foundation is always good. What I mean about the risk in risky AI businesses is, in the past, especially with SaaS model, we're like, oh, I have a good idea, I can make a tool that works, and I can spend $1 million in marketing to make 2 million very quickly, right? That doesn't work anymore because the software that you're using can be made by yourself, right? There's many AI companies that allow a person to build software. There's Replit, Lovable, Claude Artifacts. You just ask for the tool and it will make the tool right before your eyes. And we'll show a few examples at the talk. So the big companies that have the money to build these AI systems are good investments, in my opinion. But companies that are using old models of high scale product development and deployment, that's kind of risky because your path to traction cannot be bought anymore. You can't just spend all this money, have them all use it, and then expect that to then kind of like catapult forward, like an Airbnb or something, right? Um, because if someone can make software, I think there was an ad for Replit. You just ask for the type of software that you want. It gives you the software. If you don't like it, you delete it and try again within moments, or you just say what you want different, right? If
mm,
people, this is the future of software. So in 5 years or so, that's how people will build tools, and then people can then you can share your tool, and then the popular tool that is shared the most and used the most, an organic growth will make them successful. Whereas people forcing traction using money, I don't think will work anymore, but I don't have too much experience in that to be too sure. I'm sure there are many experts that are very good at that. But that's kind of an example of, hey, old models don't work old ways of building high scale business might not work anymore because AI is just better than everyone
Yeah.
trying their best, right?
Yeah, I get it. And where I was even getting to was that you trying to use a business model that is less about, that hyper scaling and including like a lot more about the human touch and things that cannot easily be replicated, right? That I'm saying that is a great business model to have, given that AI is scaling so fast and rendering itself obsolete so fast. So that, yeah.
Yeah, everyone, it's become, everyone has, if you choose to adapt and take an interest of it, you will quickly realize the amount of power that it gives you, right? For example, just the advanced voice, like here's an example of how to learn anything, right? Uh, I graduated computer science and physics, and then after I graduated, I'm like, I felt guilty a little bit because a lot of things I still didn't understand. So I'm like, oh, I should know this, but I don't. I just won't never talk about it. 20 years later, AI comes, and I'm like, this is a great time for me to learn these things in an easy way. So I asked the AI, for example, oh, how does, I don't know, uh, the subatomic model work, right? Explain it to me like I'm 2 years old. So then it explains, oh, there's a Lego and a banana and blah 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 blah, and then you laugh at my like when you hear it, you laugh, haha, that's funny. But I understand that, and then you say, okay, now I'm 5 years old. Explain it again, and then they explain it in a more complicated way, just to step up, but you still understand it, right? And inside of an hour or two, you just keep on asking, okay, now I'm 10 years old. Now I'm 15 years old. Okay, now I'm a senior in high school. Now I'm a junior in university, and it just starts ever so slightly getting more complicated that you start painting the picture. It just adds so much clarity to the concept that wasn't difficult in the first place. You were just confused and afraid to tackle it because of pressure. You don't want to ask a tutor that will laugh at you. You can't afford someone to teach you. You don't understand the videos on YouTube that are trying its best. But because now you're private, no one's judging you for not understanding this. You can have this very private conversation about a goal that you have, and it's just trying to help you your way, and you're very effective with that. And that's very important for kids, especially to learn. You can have it, oh, if they look up to a character, like let's say they love Mickey Mouse, right? You can have the AI be Mickey Mouse, and since they look up to Mickey Mouse, it'll actually listen and learn how to count and stuff like that. Uh, I'll have a big segment on education at the talk, but it's something that's one of the sectors of great benefits is education.
Mm, nice. Okay. I hope to be at your event and to also learn more. Like, well, I'm going to snap some pictures and post back on you on social media for those who are listening to us now from maybe outside of Canada who are not able to come for the events.
Yeah,
You
that'd be
know,
great.
yeah. It's all right. Thank you very much, Samuel, for coming and to your team as well. I know I saw them, and all of that. So, my regards to your team and keep doing what you're doing. The education piece is excellent.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, for those watching, thank you very much. See you at the next episode. Bye. Okay.